Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 108 today for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Season 6. If you guys did miss the last episode, the opening round of Season number 6 of this career mode, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, of course, in our brand new team at Renault Formula 1, alongside Lucas Weber, our former F2 teammate, now our Formula 1 teammate after so long, and it was a great first race, amazing action, and the result itself, I mean, a 1-2 for Renault, spoiler alert, hopefully by now you've clicked off if you didn't see that in that race, was amazing, epic. And at the end of that episode, we purchased the final 2 performance upgrades to max out this Renault coming to this episode, and a load of reliability upgrades as well, which means technically we come to Bahrain then with 8 full upgrades coming to the car, obviously 2 performance and the 5 reliability like I mentioned, but that's a whopping amount to come in one go. I think that's a record for me at least in terms of one episode. I've never really had the buying power for this many upgrades, but of course the reliability ones cost a lot less than the actual drag updates there, so it kind of helped out. But yeah, we've already got a maxed out Renault, which is great in some ways, but also bad in others, because it means we've reached the full potential, which is lower than other full potential cars, like the Ferrari we saw, like the Red Bull as well. That's now the fastest car on the grid, but you saw last episode very clearly, the on-paper R&D graph will not mean what we actually get once we get to the track in actual practice, basically. Australia was a great one. This circuit, I can't lie, might be a difficult one for us, because it is definitely a bit of a power circuit, and that's definitely something we don't have with this car in comparison. Although the massive caveat to all of this is you've got to actually remember in perspective of the R&D graph that scaling right now is so tiny. Like the spread between the top car there and the bottom car is pretty much smaller than any gap we had between teams in like Season 1 basically. So it's a really tiny one, which means the field's going to be very competitive, and actually, you know, there might be fine margins between, you know, being low down in the lower points or fighting for the top points. So we'll have to kind of just see how it goes, hopefully. But if we are on the back foot a little bit this episode, you can kind of know why, because Bahrain in real life is a power circuit, one that Renault may struggle at, you know, technically. So without further ado, let's get into this then and see what we do over one lap on Saturday.
Bahrain qualifying is nearly upon us, and the drivers look as if they're all geared up to go. I expect we'll be getting underway very shortly. And I'm here, of course, with Anthony Davidson on what has turned out to be a very pleasant day indeed. No weather to interfere, no problems on the track, so absolutely no room for error.
That's right, Crofty. It's looking good out there at the moment. Each team will have their own game plan for this session, and of course, once the cars leave the garage, they'll be under parc fermé conditions, so any last-minute adjustments need to be done right here and now. Beyond that, it's all up to the driver. Who can keep their tyres in the right temperature? Who can hit their apexes? No race fuel on board these days, of course. These are the fastest cars we've had in a long time, and it's right here in qualifying where they're at their absolute peak. Let's get started.
So joining on the end of our first flying lap then in this short qualifying session, we'll get 3 runs in this session. Last episode of Australia kind of timed it poorly and we only got 2 runs, so this time got a little bit earlier in the session and we can go across the line for that first run, P4 there at the time, but then by the time we're on to our second flyer, we're down to P15, so that was pretty much a banker lap. Wasn't very quick actually, I knew it wasn't going to be, but this second one is a lot quicker, but we've just had a massive lock-up there on the front left, and although we've gained about 7 tenths here in that second sector, and about 3 tenths pretty much in that span of that uphill and then downhill section, because I locked up so badly. I saw the tyre wear was about 2% higher on that front left, and the Renault tyre wear already is a little bit iffy, so I actively decided to abandon this lap, put it down to none ERS and lean mixture on purpose. You can see the time is tumbling down that we're gaining here. We do go faster by just a minuscule there, and so basically that's another banker lap, but I know we can go that quick again basically if I can just try and recreate that lap but not lock up to hopefully obviously, you know, start on that tyre, because remember, short qualifying means that whatever the fastest lap time is, those are the tyres I have to start on. So that second set would have been the tyres I started on if that was my fastest, and I would have started with 2% tyre wear higher on the left-hand side. I know it seems quite nitpicky, but I saw last episode very clearly this Renault is not going to be outright fastest at any point really, so we're going to have to really try and be very tactical and very, you know, look at the fine details if we want to try and challenge every single race and look into the fine margins. And so across the line, it's going to be P5 for us, which is a lot better than we did last time out in P8, but it's still going to be slower than Lucas Weber. But the man on pole position is the man who was on pole last episode, Devon Butler. 2 poles in a row in that Red Bull. Seems to be a great qualifying car, at least, because he's quite slow in the race in Australia, but a great qualifier that Red Bull is, because he's miles ahead of Max Verstappen, especially in terms of the fuel spread this season. 4/10 there to Max Verstappen in a Ferrari is massive there, but Max is second place. Weber on the second row there in third place, and once again we're out qualified by him. But you know, to be fair, honestly, he can take the he can take out qualifying me. The race is where the points are. Obviously, last time he did beat us to the race win, so now I'm gunning for this race, second time of asking, can we try and beat him on track, and obviously try and go toe-to-toe with the other rivals around us in the likes of Ferrari and Red Bull. Let's go to the grid and see how we do.
The curtain rises once more then on the desert stage of Sakir as the players take their places for the opening act. Will they enthrall us like they did in 2014 with that titanic battle between Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton? Well, we'll find out shortly as we get underway here in Bahrain. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Bahrain has showed us many times in the past, though, Anthony Davidson, that a good strategy will only take you so far. Beyond that, you need good racecraft and you need good consistency.
And a little bit of luck too, I'd say. This is one of those circuits where the safety car always seems to come out just at the right time to condense the field together and mix up the cars on different strategies. It's hard on brakes, it's tough on fuel, and the main overtaking opportunity is down into turn 1, where it's easy to outbrake your opponent and potentially have a bit of argy-bargy as well.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Devon Butler put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Weber, Leclerc, the engineer, and Norris, Ricciardo, Stroll, Perez, and George Russell, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, and Kvyat, Magnussen, Grosjean, Valtteri Bottas, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Alright, so we're a lot further ahead on the grid this time around, which is good news for us, but this is going to be quite a tricky Grand Prix. Of course, it doesn't seem like the performance is the exact same in Australia. We lost a little bit of pace, which is not too surprising. Like I mentioned, being a power circuit, I thought we'd maybe go a little bit slower, but we're still kind of on the pace. So maybe with something in the race, maybe we can do something. Tyre wear is going to be a major issue for us. We've got either a 2-stop or a 3-stop here. Not going to go for the 3-stop because that's a bit overkill, but the 2-stop for sure. I don't think a 1-stop for us is on the cards. I think there definitely will be other cars around us that try that, but definitely this time round, this season, compared to other career mode cars I've driven, this car I think definitely can't do this. I don't think it'll be able to manage a 1-stop, and even if it could, I don't actually fancy going on the hard tyres on this Renault. I think, generally speaking, the kind of vibe is going to be this car is going to perform a lot better when we give it fresh tyres and we just go full out attack mode rather than trying to be delicate and saving tyre wear, I think, which I'm kind of excited by because that just means we get to go hard and fast every single lap pretty much of this entire season. But second race here, it's a chance to now get one back over Lucas Weber, but also see what maybe the pace is like on a thoroughbred track rather than a kind of street circuit at Albert Park last time out here. And we're raring to go for round number 2 of season number 6 of this F1 2019 career mode. As we wait on then with bated breath for 5 simple red lights before we go out racing here in Sakir for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Fire lights are out and we're underway, and it's a slow start from Weber ahead of us. A great one from Leclerc in the Haas there. Slow one for Verstappen as well. Leclerc maybe tries to move for second place. Norris is down our inside, and Weber with a big dive there from our fellow Brit. The McLaren tries to get the move done on Weber, but hits the curb, and so we're able to actually nicely navigate around the outside to get the place back into P5, but we have to go very aggressive on the defensive work there against Norris, then swoop back to the racing line to maintain the position there. So the McLaren very punchy, but just didn't get it right in the first turn there. It took way too much curb, and so that didn't allow him to get the jump. So it's still Devon Butler then in the lead this Grand Prix. So this time, second time lucky, he hasn't lost the lead off pole like he did to Weber last episode. So it's Butler from Verstappen. Then you've got Leclerc with a good start there in P3 and Weber in P4. But it might not be for too long because you can see he's right on the back of Leclerc on the beginning of lap number 2. And we're also sniffing around in Weber with a horrible exit there. Don't know what happened there. I don't know if he's in lower ERS modes or whatever, but Weber very slow out of that corner. And so we practically push him through that. And so we're just kind of waiting around, going down to lower fuel modes and ERS modes because I don't want to overheat the engine, and also don't go too much on the ERS as we don't have enough for the straights then later on. But right now, sensing we can make a move on our teammate early on, we're going to send one round the outside. It's a bit of a delicate send, to be honest, as we roll the car through. But Weber hits the curb on the inside there, you saw. Got a poor exit. Now we're side by side up the hill, then down the crest, and Weber nearly makes contact with us, but in avoiding us on the right-hand side there, he actually went deep on himself, and so we're up into P4, but he's going to get a good run again with Lando Norris also knocking about there. He's going to send one to the inside. It's 3 wide now as we go up the hill. We're going to go for this switch move down to the left-hand side, try and tighten up the line and try and feed this back in, but I couldn't keep it going around the outside there. Instead, trying a dive to the inside now for the next right-hander. Norris blocks that off there. So it's all kicking off. We've lost 2 positions rather than gaining 1 here on lap number 2. You've got Ricciardo sniffing around my rear end there in the silver arrow as well, as Weber is defending against Lando Norris with all his might there, but Norris really wants this position. They're now side by side, and here we go now onto lap number 3. We're going to have a beautiful double toe then off Norris onto Weber, and we're going to make this 3 wide if we dare down the inside. Weber though has to also try and overtake Norris, so we make some contact there because he doesn't really care where I am. He's caring too much about where Lando Norris is, but they make contact. There's further contact ahead, and so we get the jump on Weber. We've got DRS as well that pulls us along, and we now pull alongside Lando Norris for the move the long way round on the left hand side, and we get the job done up into P4. That was a crazy sequence of corners there. That entire last lap, pretty much from this point last lap to this lap there, non-stop action, but we're finally there up into P4 ahead of Norris and Weber, but still goes on. Leclerc in 3rd place. Verstappen chases after Devin Butler in 1st place, but those two, the Ferrari and Red Bull, looks like they're getting away from that P3 of Leclerc, so that may be a worry in terms of any further progress we make, because here we are then lap number 5, and we're closing up to Charles Leclerc, the man who moved from Toro Rosso last season to this Haas, and he's looking pretty decent so far. He was a little bit quiet in the Grand Prix on Australia, but he had good qualifying, and again qualified well here, and so far his race going okay, but I'm hoping I can ruin the party a little bit, to be honest, here as we move on towards lap number 6. We'll have the DRS available. You can see got hot lap mode, plenty of ERS there in the tank. Also at the same time, we've got rich mix to use. We're in standard before just to save the engine temps a little bit. Here we go then, DRS open, flying down the pit straight on lap number 6, and on the left hand side it's a pretty damn easy overtake, like a motorway overtake on the overtaking lane, and we're up the order into the podium positions, but it's early days, way too early to think about the actual podium so far. And meanwhile, whilst we make that move, the next lap, this is Lando Norris and Lucas Weber going toe to toe once again there. Brilliant racing in the desert. Weber the long way round to try and get the place back, but Lando Norris keeps his foot in there the entire time. This is a crazy aerial angle there to see that from, and they're still at it up the hill, then up the crest before going down again to that very tricky left-hander. And Lando Norris is doing a wonderful job. He keeps his nose in the entire time, can't quite get it though on the exit. Weber forces him out, so Weber does live to fight for another day in that P5 position there, but great racing to witness. Meanwhile, as we look onto the sharp end of the field there's been a position change there. Max Verstappen now leads the way in his brand new Ferrari there from Devin Butler in 2nd place. Unfortunately, we did not catch the overtake for the race lead, but the Ferrari does indeed lead the way. We now move back to our POV. Lap number 7, we come in for that first pit stop of 2, remember, this afternoon for the 2 stop. Leclerc joins us, so there will be a few on the 2 stop, but I think that definitely also will be the likely 1 stoppers as well. That will be a bit of a nuisance for us. I think the Mercedes car is definitely a big candidate because the Mercedes team definitely like to go a bit harder on their choices of compounds there, but a lot of side-by-side action there on the right-hand side of our screen, so it's good to see the field is fighting away from us there, so we're not the only ones in the kind of middle of action. But we're out now in P18, second last place of the order. Leclerc in last, but of course that's because we made the first pit stop. We were literally the first man in because the tyre wear was so poor on those soft tyres, and so now onto a set of mediums, and we'll be on 2 sets of mediums to the end of this Grand Prix. But we catch up then to Valtteri Bottas on mediums. He started on them, and we're going to make a heroic overtake round the outside there of what is usually a flat-out right-hander in qualifying there. Fine margins on the right to not make too much awkward contact with the tyre compound of Bottas there. And we now catch up to his teammate as well in the other Toro Rosso. But this is the kind of nuisance I was talking about there, as we almost pushed the Toro Rosso through the last corner. All these guys ahead of us, either they're on mediums or on hard tyres that they started the Grand Prix on. So they're all basically out of sync of the top runners, essentially, in terms of making pit stops at completely different times. So we have to get past these guys as quickly as we can. Dive down the inside there to get Grosjean there. Narrowly missed the rear end Sebastian Vettel as he goes very slow, being caught up in a fight between his old Ferrari teammate Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo and also K-Mag there in the other Williams car. Can we get Vettel and Raikkonen for 2 for the price of 1? As Raikkonen locks up there, we do get the double pass done up into P9. Crucial because Raikkonen is on the hard tyres, so he's literally on the slowest compound. We had to get that one done because he was going to be a literal boat across these corners. The same for K-Mag there in the Williams. We go down the inside there, banging on the front left tyre to the front right tyre of his. And so a bit of an aggressive move there on K-Mag, but to be honest, a move that K-Mag would probably make himself on another driver, let's be honest there. So just repaying the favour, I guess you could say, but also just kind of getting him out of the way. He's a much slower car. We have to get that move done because up the road is Devin Butler, who is being caught up and held up by traffic himself. So this is quite big here because remember, Butler was fighting Verstappen for the race lead, and now we can see Devin Butler a mere 2 seconds at most ahead of us there, going side by side with Danka Fiat, a man he definitely does not want to be fighting because he too is on the hard tyres. The Alfa Romeos have started on the hards and are just holding everyone up here, so that's great news for us there. So this P3 fight is turning into a P2 fight there with Devin Butler because we've dropped Leclerc as well. I don't know where he is. I think he's caught up in traffic as well, so we've really made this pay dividends for us in terms of this 2-stop here, in terms of being very quick to overtake these cars in the kind of tricky conditions and the circumstances. Around the outside we go of Danka Fiat there. The second time we've done that overtake move, so loving that move actually around the outside. Very unorthodox place to make a pass, to be honest, around here. But if you can find the grip for it, then why not? Why not? So we move on now into lap number 12, and Butler is a little bit defensive here. He's P3 on the road, but remember that'll be a net P2 because I believe there's a second car up the road that is yet to make a pit stop. But here we go now, the move on the Red Bull, slight bit of contact on the rear end there. That was as we switch from the right to the left there. Around the outside we go, but on the exit, massive tank slapper there. We almost make some horrendous contact with our former F2 rival and nemesis from the F2 story mode days, and so that would have been pretty damn nasty if we actually made some contact, because I think we definitely would have been span round there. So we are escape with our car intact there, and we're able to try and fight on again at the end of this lap number 12, recompose ourselves, hopefully not get such a horrendous rear end on the exit this next corner. So we go down to lean mixture on purpose to make sure we keep in behind Butler, because I'd rather have the DRS and the slipstream there. We're a bit wide there as I was literally changing my steering wheel with one hand there onto Rich Mix, so that made me go a little bit wide awkwardly. But here we go now, making the move on the left hand side like we did on Leclerc. It's a great move there with DRS, an easy one for us. We go a little bit defensive on the inside there because Butler has a decent brake zone, but nevertheless we're up into P3 of this GP. But like I said, Hulkenberg there in P2, you can see on the top left, he'll be making a pit stop soon, so we are in P2 technically, but this is the man that leads the way. Verstappen then from Hulkenberg, but Verstappen in a very dominant position now. He's got about 6 seconds on me, so that's going to be quite hard to break because that Ferrari of course is very, very quick, as we saw last episode. But we now move through, just looking and updating you at the entire running order. This is how far back Lucas Weber is, and you can see clearly there, as I was talking, how many cars, I mean you can see with that camera angle, how many cars he's got to pass. There's a good 8 cars, and about 5 of them are definitely not in the top 5. Like they're out, like I said, they're out of sync of the front runners, yet to make even their first pit stop in this Grand Prix, a la Nico Hulkenberg, who makes his pit stop now at 14. So Weber has been massively screwed over with traffic here. I think that's going to be a massive pattern, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about how the previous races of career mode have gone. You might have been able to notice, but every time Weber, or even Butler to be honest as well, has gone into clean air, they are very quick, and they're able to pull away and break the DRS toe. Kind of almost like Sebastian Vettel a la 2013 or even 2010, where the Red Bull wasn't too quick in a straight line, but if they broke the 1 second barrier for DRS in 2013, they could pull away quite easily and still dominate the Grand Prix. And that's exactly what we've seen in the past from Weber, but when he gets stuck in traffic, unfortunately his AI just can't make the moves kind of as punchy as you would like. Hopefully that changes a little bit, because we did see, remember with my AI teammate of last season, George Russell, he became, well, lightning quick, like mega on the move, so many punchy overtakes at the end of Season 5. So hopefully that kind of, develops in the AI a little bit of Weber maybe, because that'd be good to see. It'd be quite frustrating to see him kind of get nerfed every single race like this. We kind of want to see more of what happened last episode, Australia, rather than what's happened today, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes in career mode. You're going to get races like this where certain AI are going to get held up in traffic, and the nature of the maxed out cars also means that it's going to happen inevitably, but we're going to have to just take that when we can, because we may not be on pace every single race, so I'm not going to complain too much, am I? So anyway, whilst I was going off on a tangent about the dynamics of Weber and Butler's AI, we're now moved on all the way to lap number 19 there. Not too much happened in that second stint after we overtook Butler. You saw on the previous clip there, on lap 15 that was, I was keeping Butler at bay, having to break the toe quite a few times because that Red Bull is pretty punchy in a straight line actually compared to this Renault. But, you know, he was keeping us honest, but we actually we had control of the situation the entire time, I feel. But we now come out the pit lane in P2 right now, but it will be P4 as we go on the exit, and we watch a fantastic battle there. Lance Stroll with a mega dive down the inside of Hamilton there. What great timing that was for us to come out the pit lane that exact time to watch that in front of our eyes there. But we've been overtaken and jumped by Stroll and Hamilton, who are both on the hard tyres, who are both doing that one-stop strategy I said a few people would be doing. So these are for position. These overtakes are for position. I have to get them done legitly. There's no blue flags here. And so we watch on, but straight away closing up so much here on the mediums v the hards. We're going to go the long way round on Lance Stroll for the third time now in this race. We go on the outside there, hairpin, and get up into third place there. And now it's only a matter of time before we also overtake Lewis Hamilton. Pretty much inevitability, because that hard tyre compound, I mean, it's pretty horrendous at every circuit, but especially at the likes of Bahrain, it just is so hard to kind of get any rubber in. Like, it feels like it never heats up properly and never really grips in and bites into the tarmac compared to the mediums or the soft tyres, even though they're a lot more durable, of course. But Hamilton there, already you can see how slow he is mid-apex as we go through the right-hander there, fully flat out in 7th gear, then closing down, a little bit of a lock-up there, but we're going to try and stick behind him here on purpose just to make sure we get the move done completely on the next straight. So we're pretty much pushing him down that straight, but we go into lean mixture and non-ERS and take it nice and easy through the final corner, and then that will give us a good slingshot here to go back into overtake mode. DRS open, rich mix flowing there, and this will be pretty much a slam dunk overtake up into second place of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Verstappen leads the way in first place there with a fast up the Grand Prix. Hamilton does give us a bit of a fight, to be fair to him there on the exit that was, but it pretty much is inevitable overtake eventually. But as I was saying, Verstappen has got about a 6-second gap there, and unfortunately that Ferrari is so quick, and once he's got a gap, I don't think Verstappen's ever going to lose it this season. So this is going to be a force to reckon with. So, you know, we may have been very quick with Weber last episode and being, you know, toe-to-toe for a 1-2 for Renault, but I'm telling you guys, in the hands of Verstappen's AI, that Ferrari car that I was so quick in last season is going to be something to match when he gets clean air, when he's getting half a chance to dominate a Grand Prix. I think he will do, as he goes on to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. We round out that third stint. Not much really happened there, but we come home in a very, very solid P2 position there. The best we could have hoped for this race, to be honest.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
So like I mentioned in the middle of that Grand Prix, really unlucky for our teammate Weber to be held up in so much traffic. The same with Russell as well. Both, you notice there, it's a Ferrari 1 and Renault 2, and the other side of the garage for both teams, George Russell and the other Ferrari, and Lucas Weber and the other Renault, both of those cars were held up in traffic. So it's actually the most pristine example of what can unfortunately happen when the AI get held up in traffic and basically kind of counter strategies. As you can see, Russell and Weber both down the order, both in tandem, in the same way as Verstappen beat me. Russell beat Weber there on the road, but both way down the order. So unfortunate there, but obviously those things will happen, and it could happen to us at any point as well. So I'm just happy to take the P2, to be honest. In the championship then, Verstappen moves up into first place, so it may have looked pretty pristine with a 1-2 for Renault, but like I just said before, I think Verstappen will be a force to reckon with, and he will be a third player in this championship fight already, along with the other guys. Obviously it's so early on, it's so hard to tell already. It's way too early to even talk about the championship. Just at the early days, it looks like Verstappen is going to be very, very quick, because he was there obviously on the podium as well last episode. But we're at P2. Weber moves down to P4. Bad day in the office for him, but I'm sure he'll come back next episode. China, though, it's going to be a difficult one again for us, maybe on the straight line speed. We're just going to have to see how it goes. But guys, if you did enjoy that episode, a decent one for us, I think, all things considered, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been Aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.